Hello, my name's Roger Lovelock and welcome to the BB Bike Shop. The BB Bike Shop, we've been repairing and supplying exchange alternators for various motorcycles for the past 30 years. And amongst those that we've done, and which has been the most popular, is being the ones for the Honda Super Dreams 250s and the 400s. Now I'm going to do a short video on how you can test these, because I'm constantly getting people calling me up or emailing me requesting on how they can test it. Usually most of these stators fail on the ignition side, where you've got either a weak or no spark, or you've lost a spark and they can't get it to run or go or anything like that. Usual procedures on those is to obviously check your ignition switch, your kill switch, your wiring, your connections. People then go for CDI boxes and stuff like that. But we'll be looking at the stators on the ignition side of things, so you can test it, which hopefully we'll be able to eliminate it. Now, these tests are what I do, what I've done over the last 30 odd years, sorry. They work for me. I'm not saying this is the way it should or shouldn't be done, but this is the way I've always worked to, and pretty much this, it's given me the answers I've wanted. So first of all, we'll go through what alternators they are and what they fit. Now this video is going to be specifically for the CB400 models, not the CB400 automatic. I'll explain that in a moment. This is for the CB400 or 450DX models, either the Dream or the Super Dream. Now we've got a selection of stators here. You might be able to just see them on the screen. I'll just tip the camera down a little bit, maybe you might be able to see it. Yeah, we've got a selection here. These two are off a CB450DX. Now these were almost the same as the 400 Super Dream. The only difference really is they had a blue wire on the end on the DXs. I don't know why they did that, but predominantly they're pretty much the same. As you can see from these two, this is off a CB400N, the early one. They're pretty much the same stator, other than the fact that the early ones didn't have these cores wound for the charging. As you can see on the later ones on the 450DX, all the cores are wound on these. Now the reason why I didn't say I didn't cover the 400 automatic models, now let's just go back a bit. These stators are manufactured by two different manufacturers. Now predominantly the 400s and the 450DXs are an Hitachi system, whereas the 250s, the Dreams and the 250Ns, are Denso electronics. Now you can identify that without taking the generator apart by looking at it on the underneath the tank, the CDI box. It'll either say Denso on the side of it or Hitachi. Like I say, the 400 and 450s out were by Hitachi. Now the 250s, 250 Dreams and the 250 Super Dreams were pretty much all the same, other than the fact they had a different connector on the end of that 2-pin connector. The Dreams had a bullet connection, 2 bullet connections, as opposed to 1 block connection there with 2 pins in it. Now this one is almost the same. Well, you can see actually the 250 and the 400s are different. These are like a one-piece stator with another section in the centre of it, and these have got separate ignition source coils on these, and these would be the ones I'll be showing you how you can test in a moment. But like I say, these are almost the same as the 400 automatics. So the 250 models were pretty much the same, and the 400 automatics were the same, which used the Denso electronic system. So that's 250. We'll do another video on how you can test these at a later date. So let's get back to the 400 and the 450DX. As I said earlier, there are a few differences on it, but only a few subtle differences, other than the fact the early ones didn't have these cores here wound with the charged coils. The early ones, again like the 250, the early ones had a pair of bullet connectors on the end of that connector on the blue and the white wire, as opposed to a double pin socket. Don't know why they did that. Perhaps people were putting it back to front and finding the bike wasn't run, so they did that instead. So yeah, that's the main differences on those. Now I've got two of these 450DX stators here, and I'm going to show you how you can test them. Now these come with quite a few separate coils on. Obviously we've got the charging coils, which is the 3-phase that go to your regulator rectifier. We won't go into that because there's plenty of videos on the internet that you can see to diagnose faults you got with your charging. So they just do your charging, which come out on this 3 pin block connector here, which is 3 yellows. So that is just the one circuit for the charging. Now we've got other coils on this stator. We've got the main coil here, which is the primary, or I like to call it the low speed source coil. We've then got another coil on this side, which is a high speed source coil. We've got a pickup coil here, the external one, which is on the outside of the flywheel. Now this has got 2 coils inside this. And then we've got the advancer coil on the centre, this one here, that one there, and that's the pickup, like a horseshoe shape. So what we're going to do is we'll just go through the test procedures on how you can test these, and all you need is a simple multimeter. I bought this one from Lidl's while I was on holiday in Spain. It was only about, I don't know, €7 or €8, and it's pretty good for what I want for just testing these stators. Okay, so let's get rid of that one out of the way. Now, like I say, people phone me up and say, oh, I've lost my spark, or it's got a weak spark. Now the most common fault, stator fault on these stators on the ignition side, is the low speed coil, which is that big one there, which fails. It's got about a couple of, probably 3,500 turns very fine wire on there, and what happens is over a period of time they fracture, they rot away, the vibration gets into them, or the coil comes loose on it, and it just fails. So, you know, you don't get any initial spark to it. If your bike won't rev out, it could be that one's failing. Again, if it doesn't start, there's no spark, you could have a problem with that one. Like I said, that's got 2 coils in it, or if it doesn't rev out again, it could be that one there, which is your high-speed pickup coil. Right, okay, so what I've done, and the way to test that coil, which is your main source coil, and this one, is you need to get to that plug connector there, the one with the white and blue wire in it. Okay, I'll bring the camera up a bit closer. Okay, right, the first test I usually perform is, obviously it's got no spark at all, is to test the low speed coil here, which is the large fatter one of the 2, if I can, that one there. And that one is connected from the white wire on the long lead that it's on its own. Set the multimeter on, set it to 2K, 2000 ohms, and that white needs to go to ground, and that one we got about 313. As long as you got between 290 and 400. Hello, phone's going. Right, sorry about that. Sales marketing call, got too many of them. Right, okay, where was I? Yeah, look, here we go again. Woo. Right, 3rd time lucky. Right, back to the low speed coil. So you need your find your white wire onto this plug, put your probe on one end and one on the other, and as I said earlier, as long as you're getting that kind of reading, you're in the ballpark figure. Usually you'll get nothing at all. It's like I say, it's this coil, wire comes in, actually it doesn't, it comes in on the earth and then comes out on the white wire. There's quite a few turns on there, 2,000 or 3,000 turns. And the next one, you want to do the high speed coil, which is on the opposite side, which is that one. It's got a little angle bracket over it. Now that one is looped between that same connector, between the blue and the white wire, and you should get around about 90 ohms on that. So that one proves that to be right. It doesn't matter which way around the probes go, there's no diodes in there or anything like that, so about 90 ohms. So that one's proven to be okay. Now I've got one here, and I'll test these two coils on that one. This other stator for the 450, and I'll check the white to ground. That one's reading okay at 291, probably a little bit low. And then check the high speed coil between the white and the blue, and we've got nothing, so that one's proven. In fact, you can see that one's slightly damaged there. I don't know whether that's it, but it looks like this one's been in a pond for about a year. So high speed coil's gone on that anyway. Okay, so the next set of coils you want to check are these external pickups. As I said earlier, there's two coils in here, and they're embedded in this potting compound. Now what you want to do is you want to find the big block connector. Now I'll do a screenshot of this drawing that I've made up here, and if you hold it like that, so that little square tip is at the top, you've got a pale blue wire there, you've got a pink wire there, you've got another pink wire down here, and you've got a green there, which is the ground wire. Now these two wires here, the pale blue and pink, which I've numbered on the sheet, 1 and 2, are for this external pickup. So now what you need to do is, I find it easier to put a probe in the back of these two and connect those two together, and you should get around about 200 odd ohms. That means it's about 100 ohms per coil. Now you can check each coil because they do go to ground inside. So put it on one of them, this is the pale blue wire, onto ground, and that's around about 113 ohms. As long as you're going to get about between 90 and 120, that should be right. So that's measuring one coil in that pickup. And then on the pink wire, which is number 2 labelled on the sheet, and you should get approximately, now let's get a decent connection on there. You get about 100 ohms. So between the two, because it's a one circuit, if you go between the two, you're getting 200 ohms. So that one's okay. So we'll check the pickup on this other one. So hold it like that. We've got the tab clip thing there at the top. So between the two, we've got nothing. Check that on the ground. There's nothing. Check that one to ground, we've got nothing on that as well. So that's showing that that pickup is faulty. Now, years ago these weren't a problem, but what happens is moisture gets into them, breaks the insulation, cracks the wires, and basically you don't get any circuit from it. We are in the process of repairing these, but at the moment it's in development to get these repaired. They take an awful lot of time to get inside that and pull it apart. Now the last test to do is to do the high speed pickup coil, which is this black one in the middle here. So now that one, you need to find your block connector again. Now that is going to be the bottom left one to ground. So that one to that one, which is number 3 to 4. Put the probe in there. Put the probe in there, and we should have around 130 to 140 ohms on that one. So that one's proving to be okay. Anyway, on this one, we'll check on this one. So we need to find that bottom left one, which is the other pink. At least I think they're coloured like that. I mean, these thick white wires are so old. and that one's finding we've got that anyway, so that one on this other one's okay as well. So it looks like that on this stator the pickup coil's faulty and the high speed coil's faulty. However, if we ever do any rewinds on these, we automatically do the high speed, the low speed coil here anyway, because these fail. This one's starting to, the insulation's starting to break away on this one anyway, and no sooner it's started up, it will probably fail anyway. These low speed coils, this is what they look like. We can rewind them, but this one's actually, the bobbin on this one's actually fallen apart. We can supply new replacement ones or rewind the old ones that are on there. And this is the high speed one, and you can take them off by removing that plate there, slide it off because it's on a like a dovetail, cut the wires, and then that lifts off. In fact, that one didn't lift off, that was stuck on there, but I managed to rewind that coil by hand, by taking that plate off and just winding it by hand. I didn't need to take it off. It's much easier if you can take them off and put them on the little winding jig. Okay, so I mean, these pretty much, these stators are all the same. They do differ in a few odd connections and more turns on the charging. Similar systems are used on the CX500s. Some of the XLs as well, XL range, early XL range, and the CB250 RSs. And the XL V750s, the twin, use a similar one, but they use two of these, two of the low speed ones, because they're twin, and the advance is, I presume, is done by some kind of mechanical advance maybe, or an electronic advance somewhere else on the bike. So yeah, these are all pretty much similar, that use this Hitachi setup. At least I'm assuming it's an Hitachi. I know the CDI boxes are Hitachi. Personally, I don't care. It's, you know, it's, I don't know what they're off of, and it doesn't really worry me, but I know, you know, that's the one that goes with the Hitachi CDI box. So yeah, and I say you can test them. I'll put a screenshot of this up so it makes it a bit easier, but like I say, the ignition side on these Super Dreams, on the 400s, are on that wire there, well, those two wires there, and those four wires there. And just remember that bottom right hand one, if you've got the tab at the top, is the ground for that body. Now that ground will not go to that if it's not connected on the bike, on the pickup coil, because that only grounds out when it's connected to the bike. There's a grounding point inside there. Okay, well, hopefully that's clarified a few things for you. Like I said, this is the way I test them. If you do get those readings, the specified readings, it doesn't mean to say that it's not faulty. However, if the readings aren't within those specifications that I've just shown you, then you're pretty much guaranteed that there is a fault on one of those circuits within one of those coils. Like I said, this is just the ignition side of it. The charging side of it's pretty much simple. You can look elsewhere, or I might even do a video myself sometime of how to check three-phase charging on these bikes. Like I said, we've been dealing with these stators for these 400s for over 3 decades now, since they were first introduced in the late 70s, early 80s, and we've been repairing and rewinding for that period of time, supplying to customers with a good success rate. So yeah, great stuff. Well, hopefully that's cleared a few things up. Please visit my website if you ever get a chance, whenever it comes up on the screen. We've got a full list of the stators and alternators we do. We do these on an exchange basis, or you can repair your old one. However, I am flat at the moment. I've got a bit of a backlog, but if anybody sends us anything, I try and get it, you know, done and sorted out within 3-5 working days if we haven't got it on the shelf exchange. To be quite honest with you, I'm in the middle of doing another, which is a 400 one. This is actually one of those stators stripped down without the guts inside of it. I'm starting to rewind. This one was these are actually, because these are getting so old now, these are coming in with the ignition, with the charging charging problems on them now. And when you start to strip them down, they end up falling apart anyway if you're not careful. They are quite delicate, all the winders on them, but when they're in situ on the bike they all hold together, but as soon as you start messing around with them, they sort of all break away and the insulation breaks off. So yeah, we are in the middle of doing, or I am in the middle of doing that one. I must get around and finishing it sometime. So that'll be another one on the shelf. That was for a CB400N, I think, an early one with just the half amount of charge cord went up. Anyway, cut to the chase. Hope you've enjoyed the video and you've learned something from it. If you've got any questions, just email me or make a comment. I'll be doing a load more, hopefully when I get time, I'll be doing a load more videos on rewinding these things and test procedures and stuff like that. And hopefully you get your Super Dream back on the road and running as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.